Welcome to the winter edition of the garage. It is 1 degree Celsius outside. There's some ice on the inside of the window. There's a little bit of ice, believe it or not, on the inside of the wall there, but there's not as much ice in here as there is outside on the poor R6 that was stuck outside last night and ended up getting covered in a nice white frost. And it's still there on it as well because the temperature has just not changed. It's absolutely freezing. So with that in mind, what I'm going to do today is address what I posted last week. It was a nice little poll and it asked basically which bike you were here for. And 25% of you voted for the Husqvarna, 75% of you voted for the BMW. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to deliver to the 25% of people who voted for the Husqvarna, because it is about time I started riding this bike again, because this is the one that I've been doing the most on for the channel realistically. So let's get it back running again. It's going to be a simple little video. We're doing a clutch bleed, we're doing a brake bleed, and I'm changing the pads on the front and back as well. So let's get into it.
While I remove the two T20 torque screws from the top of the master cylinder, now is the time to tell you that I didn't manage to do the clutch bleed as I haven't got the right size tubing delivered just yet, so that'll be its own video. So moving on, I'm just going to take the cap off the master cylinder and put it to one side, and then I'm going to move on and take off the little rubber cap off the bleed nipple. Removing the rubber cap allows me to fully fit the tubing from my favourite brake bleed tool. That allows me to make a good seal so that when I open the bleed valve, the fluid comes through without allowing air into the caliper, just like this. Before I start pumping the fluid through, I top up the reservoir and then start squeezing the lever. That allows the new fluid to work its way through the system, and after a few cycles it's nice and clear, so that's all that's left to do is close the bleed screw and build up more pressure on the pump to stop brake fluid dripping everywhere.
So going into this Magura system is a set of Galfer Sintered pads.
And to get the old pads out, I need to start by removing this little retainer clip from the brake caliper pin. It's a little bit of a fiddly thing, and as you can see it just pops off. That's pretty much what it looks like, and it's in good condition, so I'm going to put that safe for the time being. I've now got to push the pin through, and at first try it's not too bad, but I can't pull it all the way through, so I use a little bit of gentle persuasion and it comes out as expected. I was expecting the pin to be in a bit of a worse condition, but it's not looking too bad, so it will be cleaned before it gets put back in the caliper. So this little bit of work has led to this moment and I've been looking forward to it. I just pull out the pads, they slide out nice and easily down the bottom depending on how clean the caliper is. Thankfully mine is quite clean at the moment. And looking at them, they're not in too bad a condition. There are some little chunks missing mine, so yeah, I think they are due a change. So it's just a case of moving on now to the second pad, pulling that out. I just move the caliper slightly and out it comes nice and easily. And that one's got a big chunk missing. I don't know if you can see it because the camera's a bit blurry, but yeah, that definitely needs to go in the bin. So there, this is the right time for this job. To fit the new pads, I just slide the first one up from the bottom of the caliper up until it's seated in its groove. I then give the caliper a push just to try and make sure that the pots go back inside so that the other pad is easy to fit as well. If you've not seen one of these pads going in, here it is from the other side. You can notice the pad going up from the bottom and then finding its location, and then I slide it forward to meet the pin. When it's in place, I start to slide the pin through and then manipulate the pad so that it does allow the pin to slide into place. It can be a little bit fiddly, but once you get it, it's just nice and easy to get through, as shown there. I finish off with the calipers by replacing the little clip that goes through the pin. I just line it up and then I use a little bit of gentle persuasion, the pliers, just to push it through, and there it is. That's it in place. Thankfully I did remember it, but the back is a bit of a different story. After cleaning up the reservoir cap, I refit it to the master cylinder and then I just tighten it back up using the two T20 torque screws that I've got nicely and safely up the side. Now because I don't actually know if there's a torque setting for these screws, I just tend to tighten them up a little bit, not too much, and then for the last turn I just do a 90-degree twist on each one, and that puts them up to a position where they are nice and snug but not over tightened.
Moving on to the rear brake pads, I've noticed straight away that there's no retaining clip in the pin to stop it sliding out. Thankfully it hasn't slid out. but I may just order a new little clip and a new pin because the pin is looking a little bit rusty. So I'm just going to change it now straight away. I'll see the condition of the pin and then I'll change it if it is rubbish. But if not, I'm going to give it a clean up and put it back in just so at least I've got the new pads in ready to go. And then the next bits, when they do arrive, it's just a quick change and then out I go on the dirt bike.
As there's no retaining clip, it's straight in with a gentle persuasion to get this pin out, as it is really stiff compared to the first one.
It's not too bad. There's a little bit of corrosion on there. So again, I'm just going to clean that down and hopefully it'll go back in and retain well. But as you can see, there is a hole there, so it should have had that little retaining clip.
I had to work quite hard to get these rear pads out because they were stuck in place. Obviously this is just a clip of it, but I've been working at this pad for a while. Now by comparison, the original pads have had a really hard life, so it's a good job that I'm changing them right now. So I start refitment by first putting in the retaining spring. Then in goes the first pad, and then I push the caliper across to secure it in place before fitting the second pad. As with the front caliper, to put the pin in I gotta first manipulate the pads. So I get the first pad seated and then I have to push up the second one to then slide it across. And as you can see there, I've cleaned the pin and it actually works out really well. It slid through no problem. I then use my little pick tool to turn the pin around to a position that will allow me to put the pin back in place as soon as I get hold of it. The last thing for me to do is tighten the cap back up on the master cylinder. I opened it earlier on to push the plunger back in. Some oil has come out, so I'm going to give it a bit of a clean, and that is that, the job done. The last thing I'm going to do is put the headlight back on and make this bike look like a bike again, and then I can get a bit of satisfaction from seeing it whole again.
So there it is, and that is one happy looking Husqvarna, and I'm super pleased as well because, well, I know it's not been stuck in the corner, neglected, out of the way while I focus purely on the BMW. So I just want to say thank you to you guys that took part in that poll to say that you wanted to see the bike. As you can see, it's coming back and I really do appreciate it. Otherwise, it would have sat there for God knows how long while I just like proper zoned in on that Beamer and its problems. So yeah, that is it. I'm going to bring the video to a close. Thank you very much for watching. If you're happy the bike is making a comeback, please press the thumbs up button down below and give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. And if you've made it this far, you're going to want to watch the video that I post on the 18th of December because I've got something I think you might like. I know I'm going to like it, but we'll see how it goes. It's a Monday night. It's out of the norm, but yeah, please come and watch that video. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll bring you a new video soon.